age.
Protest movements take many shapes and forms, from feminism to the demonstrations in Tiananmen Square to today's Occupy. But how are protest movements formed and organised? How and why do they succeed or fail? What, if anything, do they have in common? The sociologist and director of the London School of Economics, Craig Calhoun, has made the study of protest movements a lifelong project.
Craig Calhoun, welcome to Social Science Bites.
Thanks, and hi, Nigel.
The topic we're going to focus on is protest movements, and this is a topic that you've done quite a lot of empirical research on. Could you say a little bit about that to begin with?
Well, I've worked on movements in a variety of different settings, from historically in the 19th century in Britain, France, and the US, to the Tiananmen Square protests in China in 1989, and on into thinking about Occupy Wall Street and more recent protests in the US and Europe. One thing I'd say is that protests are a tactic, that people use protests as one of the tools to try to get media attention, to try to get issues put on the public agenda, to try to get policymakers to address those issues. But it's only one tactic, and so the same groups may also be engaged in other kinds of activities at the same time, and a movement is the longer process of change. When we talk about, say, the feminist movement, there were protests, but they weren't the whole thing.
I'm really interested how a social scientist approaches something like the protests in Tiananmen Square in 1989. Now, there were journalists there were historians who've written about these events in relation to China. What does a social scientist have to contribute here?
I'd like to tell you that because I was a social scientist, I knew these were coming and I planned a research project around it. In fact, I was teaching in Beijing that year, and so my students were part of the protest movement, and I was able to observe some of the early developments that helped to pave the way to it. Social scientists are interested in movements and protests because of their role in bringing social change, because they are a kind of social action that requires social organization, that depends on social relationships. So to give you an example from China, one of the things that you notice is, well, there are large crowds, big marches, big gathering in Tiananmen Square.